angels, guardians, ghosts, and saints all play a part of this close and range. Holy men, prophets, healers, and kings. That's my entourage, man. The posse I bring. Angels.
Welcome back to the Corin Grillo Show. I just had the most epic conversation with a man named TruthSeekah. TruthSeekah is someone, I was on his podcast back in 2000, I think it was 17. We hit it off. We have a lot in common. He is a Christian mystic, Amazon best-selling author of the book, The Spirit Realm, a visionary artist and a seer. He's a songwriter, does amazing spiritual hip hop, and he's released over 200 songs. I mean, he's just a multi-dimensional dude and does a lot of work in the spiritual realm, inviting Christians to really see the beauty and the power of the mystical side of life. And as far as I'm concerned, he is a walking embodiment of what a Christian was back in the day, back during Jesus's time. Our conversation took some seriously interesting turns. So please, please, please listen to this. We talk spiritual awakening. We talk about our own spiritual awakenings, and he goes deep into the Bible and hidden meanings. And I mean, it is fascinating stuff. And there are very few people, other spiritual leaders that I fangirl out on. This guy is one of them. So listen in. And I really hope you enjoy. And before we get started here, make sure to follow my podcast. Okay, so this guy, TruthSeekah, he is like a brother from another mother. We have so much to talk about. Every time he and I get together, and how many years have we kind of hung out or talked?
2017 in that area.
Area.
It's been 6 years now, something like that.
Yeah, so I was on, so he's got this kick-ass podcast called the TruthSeekah podcast. And I was so happy, TruthSeekah, when I found out, when they showed me that I was going to be on your show, because hip-hop artist, yes. I mean, there's just something so different about you and so down to earth. And I was like, thank God, because sometimes when you're on these podcasts, it's just like not my vibe, man. A little too like, like love and light only. So the way that you speak and the way that you work with your community is so freaking inspiring. You're so real and authentic. And what is so fascinating, I think, about you guys, TruthSeekah, is that he tells the truth. You are truly one of the most humble spiritual leaders that I know. And you're so informed. And you guys, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't fangirl on almost anybody's work that are talking spiritual things, but when I happen to come across whatever he's talking about, I have to watch it. And I just always love it. So I don't think I ever told you that, TruthSeekah, but I am such a fan. I love, love, love your work.
Thank you. It's mutual. It's likewise. There's something to it. I don't know if it's the zodiac signs or your birth sign or something like that. I don't know, but it's the idea to ask and to want to know, because like what we found in, and us being friends, maybe a year ago, we went through some deep energy, and like we was going through it by ourselves. And then it was like, hey, are you going through some? Oh yeah. Like, it's crazy. The energies it was so amazing. It was so chaotic, but blissful, and being taught by the angels. And like, it's stuff that you kind of got to keep to yourself. You can let it out a little bit, and letting it out a little bit was like, oh God, I'm not alone. And as leaders in this kind of movement, we're like, hey, we're subject to the energy too. And it was so amazing. But maybe that's something we can start with, like how that was synced, because we definitely were, holding on to the messages that were coming
big and fast and strong.
Yeah, download.
Yeah. Okay, crazy. Good. So we're starting off so real already, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's the connection. Not everybody was
going through it.
But guess what? Some of them are going through it now.
Yeah, some of them are
rite of
going through
passage,
it now.
initiation kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So what he's talking about, I guess the best to describe it is a spiritual awakening. We have had our fair share in the past. I know you have too, TruthSeekah, but he and I had another one at the same time. And how I knew this is because I happened to see him talking and I could feel the vibes and I saw what he was talking about. And there was a slightly different tone, a texture. He was outside and then he would stop and go, oh, there's a bird. And I could tell all of a sudden he's super connected to all the birds and the nature. And he was tan and I could tell he was spending a lot of time outside. And like, I just knew Spirit told me he's going through it too, because it was right around the time I may have talked about it on the podcast already. I know some of my communities know, but I had what the best I can describe it is an integration experience with Spirit. And for a while, I could feel a multiplicity of beautiful beings inside of me. I equated them with the word ancestors, but it could have been saints. And I could hear and feel them speaking through me. And it was very new. My whole family knew what was going on. My identity totally shifted at this time. And my heart was so open. I was like an innocent child. And it happened very quickly. It's like all of a sudden I woke up and Condor spirit was also one of my anchors. And Condor in Peru is associated with Jesus, with the sun god. So I'm having my Condor experience, and then I see TruthSeekah because I was losing a bunch of weight. I see TruthSeekah. He lost a bunch of weight. He was tan, and I was like, this guy. I just have to say something. So I don't know what I said. It was, I felt so awkward, but I'm like, hey, TruthSeekah, are you going through the thing, and having, Spirit talking to you directly? And are you not eating and sleeping? And are you having all this like bliss and amazing stuff happen? And so what was it like for you, TruthSeekah, when I reached out to you and said that?
Yeah, no, it was amazing. And it's like, you always feel like you're by yourself, until you're not. It's like, oh, wow, I'm not, and that's where the Messiah complex comes in. I'm the only one going through the awakening. It's like, yeah, right. Like I've got all types of, everybody's out there who's open for this cup to be poured out upon. And so if your hands are open like this and if you can carry it, it's there. And so I think everything that like you believed and were hoping for and you're like preparing for this birth to come forth. It's really, it's the birth of the Christ in you. It is, it's what's called the marriage supper of the Lamb in Christian terms. It's where Christ finds a host. So the angels find a body that they can use, a vessel. And this is in astrology. It's the months that they govern. But when it comes up for you of like, who can these two, right? And it's way more than just us. It's a lot of people, but can you handle it? Do you make it through the initiation? Do you lose your mind? Do you end up in a psychiatric ward? I mean, people do, let's just be honest. So that's why we're here. Hey, you got this. You're going to be okay. And it would feel like that. It would feel like, no, I don't want food.
So hard to eat, right? I was repulsed by food.
Yeah. Waking up at like, man, it would, 3:30 was early, but there was some 2:30 days,
I couldn't even sleep. I had to finally take medication to help me sleep because I'm also trying to mom at the same time. And as much as having all of these radical visions, but like at night, instead of sleeping, I would close my eyes and I would see the ground beneath me. I was flying like a gosh darn condor over deserts and lands. And it was, I mean, it is so funny. So the Christ within you, the condor within me woke up. Same difference again, but wow. So for you, like, how hard was it to kind of stay grounded? And you sent me a picture of, I think it was Horace vacuuming, and you're like, this is what it feels like. I'm Horace, but like day-to-day grind stuff.
Yeah. And then there was an Eminem song that said was talking about he said there's some things I got to do to stay human, like using the bathroom and vacuuming. Like I got to do human shit, you know.
I got to do human shit. I remember us commiserating on like, okay, how do you just act natural when your entire identity is totally changing? Like, so for you, did you have to kind of relearn? Like, I had to relearn how to type. I couldn't type for a while. Like my my punctuation was off. I had all the words, but my limbs, it was more like I had talons or little baby hands, and I couldn't type the same way. Did you have any other, like, we haven't talked in depth about this, but what happened for you?
I don't know. It's just like being wide open 24/7, but it was good.
Yes.
Like
it was good.
Because I've been there with it bad. Like that's where I started. That's my story. That's the infatuation with the dark side. Like it's real. And I always want to make that clear. Like, you know, whatever level you're at, there's an opposite level. So I started out in that and made it out years ago. It's been over 20 years. Right. So now being in the light, you still having synchronicities. You're being contacted in the middle of the night, but by the good guys, you know.
And your heart expands.
Oh, for sure.
Your heart, you don't get paranoid. You get more loving, right?
More joy, more bliss.
More joy, more bliss. I know we were talking about it because for months I couldn't stop laughing or dancing. So I would, like, if I hear any song, it doesn't even, if it's country music, if it's a sad, slow song, I was going to dance to it. I would find a way to dance to it. But, you know, so tell me more. I didn't know about this. What did you call it when they're looking for a host? So the angel.
There's a whole bunch of names for it. I mean, I did a post, you may have seen it. And I just said that, you know, what if I told you that you are the horse that Christ and his angels returned to the earth on?
Yes.
And so there's many like metaphors and different aspects of our psyche, of our body, of our nature that is coming into this Christ consciousness, if you will. The Christs are manifesting and birthing on the earth through bodies, through vessels. Some of them through birth is what a starseed is, but some of them through grown-ups, you know? And so it's that, like, when you look at that, the analogy is amazing, because the horse analogy is hard for Christians to grasp, but I put it out there and so many people are like, well, yeah, that makes sense. I understand it. My animal nature has submitted to the higher angelic nature, and now we've partnered and become one.
Yes.
You know? And now what's being brought forth out of me is a Christ. Now everything I touch is anointed in that aspect. But I like the analogy of the horse, because in voodoo, which we know this is where a lot of Roman Catholicism comes from. They have so much in common with like voodoo from Ethiopia. And they have a part of their ceremony. I have this quote where part of their ceremony is that their ancestors come to them and speak through other people. And they give them divine messages if they're getting married. And this is when a lot of this happens during a marriage. And they'll pray over them and talk to them through other people who have like been proper channels. And so, but this is what they say. They call it mounting, as one would ride a horse. It says the spirits of our ancestors come upon us and come into us and ride us as a person would ride a horse. It's actually called mounting, where the ancestral spirits come and use your body, and you're a part of it. You know, this is how spirit works. They don't have thumbs. And this is what I just continue to say. Jesus, we champion Jesus. He's freaking awesome. He doesn't have thumbs. He needs hands and feet. He doesn't have it. He's an idea. He's an essence. He's a spirit, but we are too. And we have a body and we can breathe it in. And I think that what we experienced was, you know, the manifestation of whichever culture you want to use to describe it, what was and is taking place. Because
I saw your post, because I didn't know anybody except for you
But I know that any teachers, shamanic teachers that I studied with have never had that experience. So I didn't know
I don't
what
know
was
either.
going on.
I'm just assuming we may be the only two.
We could be the only two. I mean, but come on, what are the odds, right?
Yeah, I'm just
But
assuming.
like, I was so happy to hear that because it was a multiplicity
Sure.
of my ancestors, inside of me. I could hear multiple levels of voices speaking through me. Like when I was writing, the writing that was coming, I could hear all the voices and it was all beautiful, all so much love. And you know what else it was? It was almost like for me, and I don't know if this happened to you too, a deconstructing of so many lies, so much, I guess, hypnosis about the judgment that we place on ourselves or not feeling good enough about this or that. But a total and complete acceptance
I think we talked about that a little bit too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt that because there would be times where I knew I shouldn't eat or something or shouldn't eat meat or whatever. And I would eat and I would go against my conscience. Yeah. And that's what sin is. Sin is like you have a standard and then you break your own standard and you're like, oh man, I can't believe it. And we've done that our whole lives. But you usually fall into a little depression or, 2 or 3 days or 2 or 3 months for some people, 2 or 3 years. And I would do something like that, whether it was eating or saying something that I shouldn't have said or something. And I was ready for the guilt, shame, condemnation to come, and it wouldn't. And the angel, like I heard them like, hey, get back up. There's no time for you sulking. We don't have time. You're in the game. You're in on the next play.
Yes.
I know you fumbled, but get back up and go.
Right.
There's no condemnation.
Exactly. There's no.
And that was like, I experienced it and had them tell me in Christ, like it was like, it's one thing to know it. It's not a license to stumble and to do stupid things, but it's like a grace, like, hey, you got this. It's your turn, man. Get out there. Quit crying.
But there's like, yes. So it's like the way that we are raised to, in a way, punish ourselves, feel guilty and ashamed of the things we think we quote unquote should be. But I found that Spirit wants us to do things sometimes out of the box and sometimes contrary to what we believe is right. Because what happened for me, the only food I could eat, this is honest to God truth, was candy. The candy, I could eat candy and drink soda. And so I lived off, and it's so the opposite, especially like, okay, I'm a spiritual person. The body is the temple. Yet, like Spirit is celebrating. Ancestors are celebrating. Every time I have a piece of candy, I turn into a happy little child. And so like, and it wasn't, now again, like I'm not saying all we should do is eat candy and drink soda. But what was crazy is I was losing so much weight doing the opposite of what people are telling me, because again, I was dancing all the time. But yeah, I did not feel guilt and shame. As a matter of fact, I thought it was hilarious. And it almost gave me even more ability to laugh at my own tomfoolery, but also to accept people at a whole new level for who they are and what they're showing up to do. So it's like my de-shaming game like went to a whole next level, not just for myself, but like how I hold other people now too.
There was I'm looking up a scripture right now. It just ties in. It's Acts chapter 10, but this whole story is like, there's so many dynamics to it. I love and principles in it, but it's when Peter has a vision and he falls into a vision, but there's something where it says that it says on the morrow, as they went on their journey and drew nigh unto the city, Peter went up upon the housetop to pray about the 6th hour. The 6th hour is noon. Like that's when, when the sun is at its highest. And that's what I was doing, going out and being taught like, during certain hours were
you doing that on purpose or just kind of like accidentally?
I was doing it on purpose when I found out that there were angels that were over certain hours. And I was just experimenting because where something happened, like at that hour, I was like, tomorrow is class still in session, like school, like you're in school, like you have first period, second, third. And so I was like, cool. Is my first period, like this teacher who taught me, is this at noon or whatever? And it was several days where it was like, just sit there, watch, look, gaze. And it was like open. It was insane. is insanity. And I'm coming back, taking notes on it to try to see if there's a science to it. You know, and so that was the thing of just trying to take notes on everything. Notes when I seen sun anomalies, and when I'm having downloads, and notes on the nights I couldn't sleep. Just so, hey, next year, same thing, you know, next week, who knows? But it says that he was coming, he went to the house to pray, on top of the house to pray. So there's your sun stuff too. And the sun is at its height. And it says he became very hungry, and he would have eaten, but while they made ready, he fell into a trance. Like he wanted to eat, and he was about to break his fast, but right before he could, it kicked in. He went into the trance. He saw heaven open and a certain vessel descending unto him as it had been a great sheet knit at the four corners that's let down to the earth. And so anyway, he sees this thing descending, and God speaking to him and telling him, it's funny you say what you said a while ago, because it tells him to do something he would never do.
Stop it.
I'm gonna read it.
Whoa, I just got chills.
It was descending unto him as it been a great sheet knit at the four corners and let down to the earth, wherein all the manner of four-footed beasts of the earth, and all the wild beasts and creeping things, and all the fowls of the air. And there came a voice to him, rise, Peter, kill and eat. But Peter said, no, not so, Lord. I've never eaten any of these things before. All of these things are common and unclean, and I have a specific diet. I'm not going to eat this. And the voice spake unto him a second time and said, what God hath cleansed, that call not common or unclean. This was done 3 times, and then the vessel was received again back unto heaven. So a sheet came down with all of the animals and the beasts and all of this food that the Jewish people would call unclean. Like they're not going to eat shellfish, they're not going to eat catfish. And he's like, this is the law. Like, so am I being tempted by the devil to eat the things God told me not to eat? So he's like perplexed, like, hold on. So he's wrestling with it. And he said, I'm not doing this, God. You're not going to trick me. He's like, no, you need to eat. So it's literally telling him something he would never do. So anyway, he wanted to seek what the message was for that dream. God's not telling me. Maybe there's something deeper. Maybe there's something deeper. And so it was symbolic, but it comes in symbols. It comes in riddles. It comes in synchronicities of what it meant to him, because God was dealing with another person sending angels to them at the same time. So he's got 2 different people working on them. They're having their own encounters, and he's using things that they can relate to. But the other person that God was dealing with the angels was a Gentile. And so in their pride and in their arrogance.
And what's a Gentile for our listeners? Somebody
who's not a Jew.
Okay.
And so they called Gentiles unclean. You're not like us. You don't hear from God. You're not as holy. And that's how Peter was. He's rocking with all of his crew.
All of his conditioning, right?
Exactly. So he's telling God, he sees the vision, take it and eat it. So I can't eat that. So anyway, he's going about the next day, and he's like, what is this dream? What is this dream? And God tells the other guy, hey, I'm sending you. Peter's coming to you, and he's got a message for you. He's going to tell you the names of angels. He's got all kinds of stuff he's going to help you with. And it's like, who am I? And this guy's like the last person that they wouldn't even pick him. But God saw like, hey, I can use this guy, because he saw how devout he was. Like he was praying and burning incense and making alms. He's doing the stuff we're supposed to be doing behind closed doors. He was doing it. And so when they meet the next day, the moment he met and he came face to face with the unclean guy, he's like, you're unclean. Oh, wow. The dream was never about animals. The vision was never about me, my diet. The dream was that I called people unclean and people common. And I wouldn't listen to anything you would have to say unless I had this supernatural visitation. So I love that in a form of synchronicity, a form of the angels coming to you, because they came to the other guy, Cornelius, in a dream. Like he was dreaming, and they came to teach him and say, hey, tomorrow there's a guy coming to you, do this. And God has shown favor on you because we tried to use everybody else and they're too arrogant. They're too busy.
Mm-hmm.
Can we use you on the earth? Sure. Good. We'll bless you for it. Go outside. You're going to meet Peter tomorrow. This is it. How it took place. But the dynamics in that one chapter, oh my God, they're so amazing.
God, that's
and it's multidimensional too. Like,
right. So, but tell me so when they meet, what's the whole point? It's like, so what do they get? Like, what happens for them once they meet? Then like, what happens?
The biggest thing was to show the Jewish people that God is using these people that we think are pagan. Mm-hmm. God is using these people here from our God, because our God woke me up and told me so. And he fulfilled it with a sign and with a wonder. So that was the biggest thing that we weren't, his revelation was, we've been going right here calling people clean and unclean. You know, here's what you call clean and unclean. And you'll know this: spirits. There's no people. People are victims, man. People got unclean spirits living in them, and they have clean spirits living in them too. So it's not the person, it's the root, it's the thing that in many cases, the ancient thing, the ancestral thing, whether it's a lower nature, dark entity in them, influencing them. And that person's the victim. They have no idea. So that's what he was dealing with. Listen, it's like, for us to really win the world, we have to know that God is dealing righteously with everybody according to what they had, their conditioning, like what they have to work. And that was the big thing for him to come down from his high horse and his pride to see that. And, but yeah, and
yes, and I think like also for Cornelius, it's like, oh, okay, so like it's not true. I am loved. I am good enough, and I am received. This is how I felt in that miracle when the angels came the first time. With my first book, I felt like someone who, like the lowly creature. Like why would I be received? I don't go to church. I cuss like a race, like a sailor. I do all the wrong things. So then why me? And that's what made me realize, like, it's for all of us, whatever it is and whatever you want to define.
That's what I heard too. When mine kicked in 2 years ago, whatever it's been, it was like, why? Because I just didn't feel like it. Like I felt like you had to like work your way up, which maybe I was trying to do, but I was definitely a long ways away in my head. It's like, I was crying. I'm not worthy. Why me? It's like, no, that's why. Yeah. Because you didn't earn it. Because you're not worthy. That's what we're building upon. If you earned it, then it's not us. Like you earned it. It's yours. You created it. But when grace comes in, it's like, listen, we showed up and you housed us. You said, you literally, you gave us your hands and your heart and your breath and your words and your creativity, and you gave us your podcast. And we're gonna. The thing about that, when they come in, like they reward the host too. So it's not just like come in and use you and then it's gone. No, there's like they're promising to take care of you, like with eternity. It's interesting. It's like this. It's how the two realms. It would be like the Christian salvation, but it's more intricate, right? Because I'm going to make a space for you in the heavens so you can come back home, and you can take people with you. I'm going to save your household. It's not just you. You're like on a rescue mission, right? You don't know who you are, but we're separated. We're in the heavenlies, and we are spirit. And we're going to go make a place for you. In exchange, you make a place for us on the earth, like vice versa. Don't be ashamed. And Jesus literally says this: don't be ashamed of me in front of people. Like don't be ashamed. And if you're not ashamed of me in front of people, I won't be ashamed of you in front of the angels, in front of my Father in heaven. Let's trade out. Because I still have a heart for those people that I've transitioned into another realm. I have a bigger role. Like it's bigger, but it's still, how is it fulfilled? It's fulfilled in the cells, right? In the individuals, in the relationships, and in a podcast episode. That's how it's fulfilled. And so for us to know that there is an exchange, that we are operating and working with the heavenly realms. And that's, for me, that stuff, it opened up so much that it wasn't an invocation. It wasn't a trying. It was an awe and wonder. It was an honor to honor everything and everyone, including the birds. And what I found was the same conversation with the birds. The birds are honoring me, showing me their angelic orders that's over them.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, you feeding the birds? Okay. Well, my father's going to feed you. You want to see what we look like when we all come together as one? And like, oh my God, seeing the bird angels, and like, yeah, that's how it works.
Okay. Yes. Yes. To all of that. For me, it was so, I guess, humbling. I was so humbled by all beings, all creatures. I'm like at the checkout line, and the way that I could hear someone speak to me and really feel their beauty, their what's the word? Unique expression of the Great Spirit, and it just such an equaled the playing field so much that I just, and the thing is like, you and I, we've had our iterations of awakenings along the way, but this one was, for me, and I think for you too, very physical, very like my body was animated. It's almost like my instincts changed. It's like my body would just naturally do things that I was supposed to be, like divine timing, left and right. I just show up at the right place. I don't need a plan. It's just, I know exactly what to do. I don't need a list of things to do anymore. I know what to do when it's time to do it, kind of thing. Did that happen for you too?
Yeah. And I'm still there, of like, we was joking, like, hey, what have you been up to? You've been podcasting? It's like, yeah. It's like, well, I don't know how much longer. Well, it's just the right thing to do.
Exactly.
Waiting, and they want to hear you share this stuff. And I love sharing, but this is what I've been saying, and maybe you can attest, like there's things you want to do and there's things you got to do. Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, it almost sounds like complaining about the podcast. No, I love it. But what I want to do, and it's just been this simple, I want to lay in the grass and stare at the clouds.
Oh, me too.
Like all day.
I mean, I want a hammock, and then I want to lay. I like laying flat down on the ground and whispering to Big Mama.
For sure. Like this is what I want to do. So he's like, "You want to do a podcast?" Not really. I just want to hang. Maybe we could do the podcast from there. And that was cool because even the last one we did, we're outside. Like I was doing all my podcasts outside, and now I'm in this dark room.
Yeah,
but it's like coming in and out. It's being able to to go into the cave and dive in and do the work. So, it was amazing because I think my work allowed me to be able to do that. And I didn't share a lot of it publicly. Yeah. Like it came out for sure.
It was pretty obvious, but I understand. Like, what are you going to say out loud? There's so much.
I got to dump on my Patreon community. I just and I didn't even care. Like, I didn't even care about doing a podcast. I was just sharing with them. Like, and they were just eating it up, man. And we were having just these great conversations that I got to like debrief and stuff. And none of it's public. Like I've got it recorded because they're like, we have an archive of them and stuff like that. But it wasn't even that what I had to do. Like I wanted to do that because they were hungry versus like proselytizing on the internets, of like, hey, the angels or whatever. There's time and place for that. But it's like, part of me was like, I don't even know if I should tell you about the angels because you guys are so disrespectful to them. Like maybe.
Like how? Like how were you thinking they were too disrespectful? Well,
I mean, the comment sections and stuff like, and that's not the truth because there's so many people seeing that are just, they're crying watching it. You know what I'm saying? Like, but
you think, are you saying like the people who are still in judgment of anything that's not Jesus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The people who
call everything evil, that call angels evil, demons, all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just the eye of the beholder, it's the truth. But still, like, I mean, I've never been told not to share anything. As far as from what I call God and Christ. But but I am learning wisdom. I just walking through it. Oh, you shouldn't have said that. Oh, that was too much. You shared a little bit too much, but it's like I've never held back. So I'm actually, I don't know if I'm learning, but I know I say something like, okay, yeah, it may have been too much for him or something, or
discernment.
Hey, I mean, why hold back? I mean, that's what those people have done to us, taken our stuff from us and have held back. So,
yeah, I know it is a slippery slope. And now that I'm, because we've been checking in on each other here and there, it's like, okay, how are you integrating? Are you coming back to earth and able to do both more easily? So now I'm healthily integrated. I have my feet. I can type again. But it is still like, I don't talk about that experience. I don't think I've ever talked about it as in depth as what I'm talking about it now, because it's like, first of all, you have to go like, okay, why am I sharing this? Because I feel like there's that danger of, because I don't want to put myself on a pedestal, and I especially don't want other people to put me on a pedestal. So when you start talking about you've had the Christ consciousness experience, I feel like that's probably one of my bigger why I don't like talking about it as much, though I feel like by talking about it, it can open things up for people, knowing that they don't have to try as hard as they're trying.
Yeah. You have to learn, because I mean, there's pros and cons with it. There really is. I mean, some of it, I say some of it, it's beautiful, but scary at the same time. Like some of these angels and stuff and what they share, like there's some important stuff there. It's not just for, the fun stuff. We make it sound fun because it is. It's why we signed up to come here. Yeah. And we're doing what we were created to do.
But I mean, I don't know about you, but I am here for intensity. Like my life shows I can deal with some intensity. I don't, so.
Yeah. Clearing the land. And I mean, there's some crazy stuff, and we're being taught by something we can't see. We can see the fruit and we can see the manifestation of it. And that's what you judge. That's the only thing you judge. What it looks like and what you thought. We're being, we were looking through veils and the veils are being pulled away. I mean, that is part of the marriage supper, when it's called the apocalypse, because there's a veil over the eyes of the bride. And then the groom comes and, you ready? You really ready to see? And it's a deep study, because the veil was there over the eyes to protect the bride from evil spirits. Like, look it up, like the wedding veils. But I'm going to pull the veil back. But guess what you need to see when you pull the veil back? You need to see your husband. And this is in a spiritual sense. Trust me. We're doing this in the physical, right? Or this is, we're getting married. This is spiritual. We're playing angel. We're playing dress up. In life, but in the spirit, how it looks is when your heavenly husband, the one who's assigned to you, comes down and say, "Hey, you ready for this? Okay, and now we're gonna become one. We're gonna integrate.
Yes.
And now you're gonna hear my thoughts. You're gonna think my thing. You're gonna treat people the way I did. You're gonna know things. You're gonna all of this. And it's like,
and you're gonna eat a lot of candy.
You wouldn't even have to explain it like that, because that's all in hindsight. We read that like it's some kind of future coming prophecy, but then we're going through, it's like, oh God, this is what was happening. The veil's been pushed back, but pulled back. But now it's almost like, it's so strange. It's almost like, I don't know if any of this ties in, but it's almost like if there was this belief or science that the first thing that the bride would behold is what she would become enamored with. So to pull the veil back early, like, and you to see what reality really, the matrix, and see like it can be bad psychosis, but when it's time, when it happens naturally, and you're looking at your creator and your ancestors, because you can do that. And like I did it and I saw demons the first time, like veils were pulled back.
Oh, me too.
Killed me. I was like, oh God, I tapped into something I wasn't ready for.
Well, we've had this conversation because we had, again, very similar, like I saw demons first and somehow I was like, let's keep going, but But yeah, I think that, the whole demonic thing when I was younger, I don't know if you feel the same way. You see essentially like what is happening on the inside. So I was full of fear, full of oppression. And
Mhm.
so I feel like, when I had my angel experience about 10 years ago, it's probably the same energy, but just alchemized, like transformed into something beautiful, or like our capacity to grow past, or I don't know, like the language that you would use biblically for that. Um,
Well, it's being stretched, and what's possible. So now you go through life and people are saying, well, demons aren't real. You're like, what are you talking about? Like, I've
Yeah.
seen, no, you haven't. You're lying. Okay.
Okay.
So it's like the scripture says you can't put new wine in old wineskin because it'll burst. It can't go back in. It's almost like, how do you get the toothpaste back in the tube once you squeeze it all out? It's almost impossible to put it back in there. Right. So, but when our containers are open, when we're being formed, we can carry more because we've been stretched. So when the wine comes in and we're carrying it, it's like, hold on, we know what the depths of darkness looks like, at least to a degree. But now there's an equal measure of glory, of beauty, of awe and wonder that is promised to you. Like if you stay the course, like, so I'm glad that, I'm sure we both are, had this, being able to go through that and live to talk about it, but not just to talk about it, live to see the opposite side of, it's almost like a slingshot, and that took, 20 years, 30 years, whatever.
I know.
Wow. Now there's equal and opposite of ascension and descension as well, because the Jacob's ladder would go up and down.
Well, I talk a lot actually about, because I know that the New Age community is obsessed with ascension, and I say wrong direction, descension. It's bringing spirit into the body, that not you escaping the body or going elsewhere, but heaven on. To me, that's what heaven on earth is bringing the spirit in the body, in the cells. So I'm so glad you said Jacob's ladder goes up and down. I didn't know that.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, let's just get deep, because you say you wanted to, like, so what if you are Jacob's ladder and angels from beneath are ascending, because they're ascending too.
I believe I'm a bridge, like we're bridges. Coming,
yeah. They need somebody who can help them bridge into this realm first.
Yes.
But then work their way up. The scripture says that that you'll see angels ascending and descending upon the Son of Man. So this process that Christ went through, like Christ was Jacob's ladder for sure. He went and got baptized, and the spirit descended to him. Like he didn't leave his body and travel up. A dove, one of the birds, the spirit rested upon him as a dove, and it came upon him, like cloaked him as a mantle. Then it integrated with him, because that's what the word baptized means, is to be fully emerged or fully immersed with that spirit, that you don't know where you stop and where the spirit begins.
I mean, mine was not a dove. Mine was a condor, but that's what happened.
Hey, I haven't seen a dove. I've seen, like, these birds they're black, and you know what I'm saying? Like they're not, I haven't seen any white ones. I've seen white vehicles, but they're not like the birds, like flappy wing guys, like, because they're up there, like in and around the sun. You know what I'm saying? So I think that, the word dove there even means to descend.
It's descension.
It means to rest, and that it would rest upon you.
Yes.
And it's for they come down to work with you.
Yes.
And then other ones come up to work with you so that they can use your body as a vehicle. So yeah, you're talking about, you want to go deep, like
Jacob's ladder is the human.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
And now he's gone.
Yeah.
Now you are.
Because part of what happened for me was, and all of this happened when I was holding a ceremony at my first retreat at Casa Condor, at my retreat center in Shasta. Okay, so very awkward timing when you're trying to lead a ceremony and you have a total like breakdown / break, whatever you want to call it, But I remember telling them, that I felt like I had such a sense of being nothing. Like I realized I was like nothing, just empty. And through that nothing, I was all things, but I could feel the presence of spirit in like everything that I did. Every word was truly coming from something beautiful, but I could feel the channels like you're talking about of, being so connected to the earth, yet so connected to essentially all things, but not in a way that made me psychotic.
Yeah, it can. I think the psychotic thing is like when you do it prematurely.
Yes.
Of
Yes.
what we tapped into years ago.
Or like when your brain chemistry is creating it and it's just too much, and you don't have an elder there with you to help usher you through the psychosis. So we're lucky because you and I actually did stay sane-ish. I'm still a little.
No, for sure. Like it helped, and it helps. And all the places that we've gone and where people are going, because they're like, we're leading the way. And as this is happening, then we're giving grid. I mean, while I was going through that, everything increased. Like the numbers, the people who were like, I'm still like kind of beating myself up because I want to teach it because I got all the scriptures. And even when I told you about the Peter thing, like there's so deep, there's so many moving parts that are amazing, how angels give you their names in the middle of the night, and, how fasting and trance state, there's so much in there. But people just like, they just want to hear you talk because it's like doing something inside of them. And that's what happened when Christ was teaching. There was something different about, like, we're all talking about the same things. We're just using different vocabulary from different traditions or whatever.
Yeah. Did you notice, because I noticed this as well, that when I started speaking soon after that, or even my writing, when I would write or speak, I got so much more feedback about people saying, God, I could really feel those words, or I've had so many teachers, but you're the best teacher I've had. And I've been studying this stuff for 30 years. I just got so much more of that kind of feedback. And I felt like, well, I'm not saying anything different, but it just feels like the presence there, or there's an energy that is transferred from spirit that people, it's like more palpable. Does that happen for you too?
It did happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it still happens. It's more integrated now.
Yeah.
When it's birthed and it's like, okay, this is the new normal. Get used to it. Like, it's still, there's still 3:30 mornings. There's still 2:30 mornings. There's still, we're still in it, but it's not like, it's like you can, okay, this is what's going on kind of thing. I'm not getting any sleep. Cool. That's fine. I know I'll make up for it tomorrow. Everything's going to be okay. Whatever the case is. But
maybe not. Maybe you won't make up for it. I had a 1:30 a.m. today, TruthSeekah. I'm still not sleeping, but
yeah, no, it's interesting. But yeah, we're rewarded in the process. I'm telling you, like, as long as you can get good at it and stick with it and carry it, like, there's this notion in the scriptures, like during these baptisms, that this stuff was continually happening, but people could only carry the torch so far. And so it talks about, like, when Christ comes upon the earth and he's baptized, that he's going to carry it, and like, he's not going to get tired. He's not going to burn out. He's not going to like carry it halfway and then fall into some crazy, new age cult or something, or do something crazy and whatever. Like, he's going to be able to carry this thing and show us how it's supposed to be done, because we could only do it but for so far. So there's the promise of like what he did, now you can. And he's helping you from beyond the veil to run and not grow weary, and to walk and not faint, to be able to say, you okay? You got this? It's going to be okay. And you're rewarded in the process. I have people, man, it's weird. All of this is weird. Every single bit of it.
That's a given. Yeah.
But it's confirmed with signs and wonders to let you know you got this. And so, whatever they are for you, they're different for everybody. I've had like there was a ministry that I started out when I became a Christian and got out of the like demonic stuff. But I was in the psychic and stuff, but it all had like a negative connotation to me because I was doing it to channel demons and stuff. That's all it was. And so I'm a bad person. I'm robbing, cheating, stealing, got into the demonic. Wow.
And this was back in your early 20s?
Teenagers.
Oh, teenagers. Yeah. Okay.
I was 15. And so bit off more than I could chew, opened the door to demons, literally saw them. Other people did too. Got into church, ran, like they chased me back to God, to Christ. And that was in 2000. So probably a year into me, like being born again and trying to retrain my mind and get out of that psychosis, I was introduced to a ministry that taught all of this stuff from a Christian perspective. And they were really big at the time.
Taught the mystical stuff from a Christian?
The prophetic, like psychic abilities, smelling, inner knowing, but they could show you from Genesis to Revelation, and they had conferences and music and all kinds of stuff. And I was like, I loved it because it brought everything. It started coming back to me. But as I was beginning to, retrain my mind, the gifts, the Bible says the gifts and callings are without repentance. Like you're psychic, whether you're telling the fortune to rob people or to trick people, or play in the room and feel in the crowd. Those are all like gifts and abilities. So they don't leave. You can try to suppress them all you want. You get better at them if that's the case. But whether you're a good person or bad, you still have those tools, right? And so I didn't know that. I thought that they were only, the church told us they're only demonic. What I'm saying?
They're only evil.
Tell us in the comments to this day. But it started coming back in a gentle way, like we're talking about, where it was like I knew the next song that was about to be on the radio. I started singing it like literally like 3 seconds before. I'll sing it and then it's on the radio, singing, there's echo, and like I feel it. So much so at the time I called the radio station. I said, hey, do y'all have the same songs on repeat every day? It was the Christian radio station. Are these songs on repeat? And just, I'm learning the next, like when this song ends, I know the next song that comes in, like, cause I'm a skeptic. Am I just learning it said, no, we just
sequence,
change it every day. And it's like, I was like, wow, I'm telling them what's going on. It's like, oh, well, maybe God's willing you. And there's a song, it is a specific song. It says, you give me joy that's unspeakable. And I like it. That was this. And I just started singing it and then it comes on. It's like a synchronistic moment or whatever.
Yeah.
What's going on? And she said, well, maybe God's just telling you that, you're supposed to carry his joy unspeakable, or whatever. Yeah, that's it. But it kept happening. Inner knowing, being around people that I knew their life story. And
this was like in what time frame?
This was in 2001.
Okay. So like right after when you came back
about
to Jesus.
A year later, I'm being able to retrain my mind and get back my bearings. It just started naturally happening. Because in the demonic, it was psychosis. It was 1,000% spirits running, pulling you in trances and all this kind of stuff. I didn't know though. So this was naturally happening. Anyway, I found a ministry that a friend of mine, one of the guys who was discipling me, he had all their books, all their CDs, everything. So anyway, I was able to read their books on the prophetic and read the showing the scriptures and what they mean, that you all can prophesy and know things about people and instances where Jesus did it. And I was like, oh God, like this is what I was looking for, but the clean version, you know what I'm saying? So I was able to learn that and get back into it and experiment with it and read their books where they experimented, but all from a Christian, like mainstream ministry perspective. Anyway, that's a long story to say that when all this was happening, I had someone join my Patreon and for a couple of weeks, and then
what was happening? Which part?
Recently.
Oh, the recent. Okay, yeah, okay.
So when all this stuff was happening, and I'm just sharing and flowing on live streams and stuff, and just giving it to me, going back to the ancient ways and all that stuff. Somebody joined my Patreon. And they said, hey, they sent me a message and said, hey, I wanted to ask you some questions. I was watching your live stream on divination and biblical divination, and you said something about spiritual technologies. What are these technologies you're referring to? And it was a message. I was like, well, it just, I mean, that's just a general term. You have to tell me what I was talking about, and I could go and, he's like, oh, I'm just trying to get deeper into the spiritual technology, and your video really resonated, and all this kind of stuff. And he's like, hey, have you, what are your thoughts on this ministry? And I thought, man, those people are amazing. Like when I started out, they're part of the reason I'm doing what I'm doing today is because I found their work, and I love their ministry and what they brought to the table. It's huge. And the person said, well, I'm the new pastor over this ministry. So we were talking about like how this stuff works. The ministry, the experts that I was, when I needed them, they were there, and I was in there 20 years ago. And then now their leader is coming to me to learn from me. I don't want to say their name, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
oh gosh, I just got chills.
But it's like, I'm like, what is, because I didn't know they had a new person, like, because I hadn't been, keeping up with them for years. But
did you feel like you had to leave why did you leave their congregation?
No, I wasn't. I never got with them physically. So they had like books and email lists and
gotcha.
all that stuff. Like they're a big deal. So I never got with them physically. But my journey led me to different places that kind of went away from what they would do and more like militant. I became more militant for some time in the 2000s. But yeah, they bless you and they give you signs and wonders. Like I had no idea who even the guy was. He's like, I'm the head over this thing so now. Beautiful. And he's calling me, asking me how to do CE5 and what to look for. And we're having deep conversation. I'm telling him about the Sumerian and this is a Christian, like they're learning because they're like, we've reached the pinnacle, the peak of what we got and it's good. But now I can see it in you.
There's more,
and so for me, it was just,
it's so beautiful.
That's a huge deal, to be honest.
That's a full circle moment. And what they're showing me, what Spirit's showing me is like just the importance and the power of you setting on your own mysterious journey and like ending up in some of these really harsh places, like first with the demons. And then when you started getting into the real judgy Christianity and what you had to learn from that as well, like how to discard some.
I'm here.
How to discard some of that, like what to throw away, what to keep, but how you were compelled to do you, just like I was compelled to do me, and nothing could contain me for too long. It's like I would go and learn and then have to like go for a while. But how wonderful that Spirit brought you back to that full circle moment, almost like as a like tipping your hat. It almost reminds me of how, there's this leader of a church, down in the South who actually looks up to the work that I do. And for me, that's a huge deal because he knows I do not identify as Christian per se. I do not deny any of it, but it's just such a testament when anybody thinks I have anything valuable to say, but when you feel like Christians are really, because Christians mostly are the ones that judge the work that I do. Yeah. It was just so sweet when people like this, want to, like, they're leaning in. Tell me more about some ancestors, or tell me more about the birds or the land, or how it's talking, because it's happening to them. It's happening to them, and who are they going to talk to? That feel safe in their own communities, because they know that they're going to be judged too, right? Wow, that's amazing
how all of these little things work together. It's a movie that we can't script. Like it's just, and it's to let you know you're on the right path and that you're taken care of, and it don't stop. The synchronicities and the breadcrumbs, if you will.
Yeah. And, I want to say, back to the whole do things the opposite of what you're used to doing or what you think you're going to do. Like, I'm on a candy binge all of a sudden, hadn't eaten sugar in years. Right. But because I talk about the same thing in my communities about the intuition and about these mystical abilities, these magical abilities that were demonized, that they're really the ancient ways. There's nothing new age about them. It's really old age. It's just we forgot, so we think it's new, but it's nothing about it is new. I'm wondering if you could share with our community a little bit more about what you discovered about the ancient ways. And like for me, there is no difference between magic and miracles. It just depends on the population and how they want to talk about it, what makes them comfortable to talk about. But can you just describe how you feel that the magic, the intuition, these things, divination, mediumship, these things you feel are not just the ancient ways, but also biblical?
Yeah. I think the easy way to put it is like you said, they're not new, and they're not exclusive. None of this ever was, it's, they took it from us and we're having to relearn it. So for me, my path took me a certain way and took me into Christianity, and I know the modalities, I know the lingo, and it works for me, and it works for a lot of people because that's their thing. Like, we're in America. Like, look at the comments. I mean, so to knowing that's my thing, but it's also, as a truth seeker, to see where did this come from. And we talked about the colonizers, me and you, just before we recorded this, but
yeah, and I have a whole podcast episode on the Corin Grillo show about how religious colonization disrupted our connection.
Yeah, killed the witches.
Yeah.
Found out that they can heal without permission.
Yeah.
Without having money, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And and that's a threat, and it still is a threat. So the same spirit is out there, and the conditioning runs deep for many reasons and in many ways. But the Bible isn't new, and that should be a no-brainer for even Christians. Like, maybe it was a no-brainer for me. But when you're honest, you think you're reading about the beginning of creation, and the first peoples, the first nations, like, kind of, no, you're not. Christianity is young. It came way later. And when you start looking into the modalities and the names and all that kind of stuff, you find that it's ancient. And for Christians, there's a safer way where it's like less scary versus like, oh, we're just going to go dive straight into something, because that was my path.
What do you mean a safer way? A safer way to look at intuition and things like this?
Yeah. Well, hold on to your Christianity while you're being led to the ancient way.
Okay, gotcha.
The scripture tells you that in Jeremiah. It says, "Stand at the gate and ask for the ancient path. There you'll find rest for your soul." So Jeremiah, whenever that was written, it was the same thing. They forgot the former ways. And the Bible is big on that. Not just the Bible, but every holy text. Remember those who came before you. And what did we just say about Jesus? If you remember me, I'll remember you. I'll fight for you wherever they are, right? If they're above, below, beneath, around, just remember us. Say our names. So this is a biblical theme that they would forget. And I mean, that's where communion comes into play. Remember me, because the moment you remember me, I'm there. And so there's this call to remember the ancient way. When was that written? We don't know. Christianity, we still read that and we quote it. Remember the ancient way. Return to the ancient path. Find rest for your soul. Remember those who came before you. So it's like, okay. So the safe thing I'm talking about for a Christian is like, well, that's talking about the Hebrews. That's talking about the Old Testament, that ancient way. Yeah, let's remember what they were doing. Well, Genesis is the first book of the Bible. Like, if we're talking about the beginning of creation, they're talking about a way. They're still talking about remember the old ways. Like at the beginning of Genesis, they're saying, hey, remember the old ways.
Oh, so even in Genesis, they talk about the old ways. Okay.
Was it a way older than Genesis? You damn right. Yes,
Oof.
for sure. That they've forgotten. But if you would remember, then you would have access to those spirits closest to you. And they've left things here, whether it's through flood and through, being taken, all types of things have happened for us to forget, but we can't forget.
Because it's written everywhere. It's written everywhere.
Yeah, it's written. It's written in the stars. It's written in your DNA.
In the leaves.
So many things that wake you up. It's in everything.
It's everywhere.
And it's always been there. These synchronicities have always happened, but something you're starting to remember. Hold on. Why am I seeing 11:11? Why am I seeing this? What's going on? So the Bible is for the Christian, we go back to the Hebrew. We're like, oh yeah, this is the old stuff. But if you really get honest and you look at the Jewish folks and Hebrews, they got that from somebody else. If you're honest.
Okay, where did they get it from? Because I know you've studied this. Where did they get it from?
Well, they got it from all the other nations around them. They got it from the Canaanites. They got it from Babylon. They got it from Egypt. And they've done a good sort of same thing that they're doing to us today with like witches and magic. Stay away, that's demonic. Kill them if you can, kind of thing. They did the same thing there. And they tricked us. So most Christians think that Egypt is demonic. Like we think that Babylon is demonic. Like we think that all of this stuff is demonic. They taught us that but you get closer with Hebrew because they took all their stuff. They learned from them and copied it and say, yeah, we made this up. So what does the church do today? They learn from the ancient way, copy it. Oh yeah, we made this up. This is ours. No, you didn't. You didn't make up calling upon the name. They whitewashed all of it. So the traces are there. There's something right, because like, good luck. You can't learn Egyptology. Like you can't learn the Babylonian stuff. I'm trying. Like we're not, like you can't. It's lost and it's in a new container. What's lost is the outside because they whitewashed it. They changed it. They changed the name. The essence is there. The rituals are there. The information, the names are there, but they're hidden. So you got to be able to trace it back. And I've been able to trace it back with the New Testament, the Old Testament, to get the names of the goddesses, to get the names of the angels, to get all of it's been there the whole time. You're reading a book that's encoded, but there's a veil over your eyes when you read it. And you think you're reading about people because they name earthly places after heavenly places. And we think we're reading about an ancient land, but you're reading about the beings that were above the land who descended upon the land when they fell. So so this is really multidimensional, but the modalities are there and you can't see it until you can. And
until the veil comes off.
Until you experience it.
And you mentioned something because part of my deconstruction process after the integration and the ancestors came, and I really felt the grief and the deep loss of, when the patriarchal religions rose and how the feminine aspects of the deities were demonized and oh my gosh, how much we need her. We need that balance. We need that essence. And you just mentioned how the goddesses are even in the Bible, because if I mention a goddess on social media, someone's going to be like, that's a demon.
That's one of the courses. That's one of the courses we need to talk about that I've got all their names. Like, listen, Corinne, this information is not anywhere. People are getting bits and pieces for sure, but the dive deep, they were shown, you can't know their names until they reveal them to you. That's how the angels work. When Cornelius learned the name of Peter and his angel, it was his time. He wasn't looking in books trying to figure it out. You'll never find the names. It came to him. Wow. And it shared it. But if you go back to the books, if there's any energy in it, then it makes sense. That's how the Bible is. There's people reading the Bible. That's the amazing part. We're all reading it, but you're reading a different book. It's a Rubik's Cube. Those are listen, that's the best magic ever. All of it's in there. Even communion is magic. To take an offering, to get a God to come to work on your behalf, to get the bread and the wine and to pour it out. What do we do when we have a dead homie that we want to remember our dead homies? You pour out a little liquor. It's an
Offerings.
Offerings. Pour out some I know I can say that with you, like pour out some liquor, you know what I'm saying, for the dead homies. Like,
yes,
that's communion. Jesus says, hey, y'all pour out some liquor for me.
It's communion. And also from the ancient indigenous ways, this is reciprocity. These are offerings. This is the old way. And we forgot. We're taught that prayer is a one-way street. But I teach so much about like, go out there and give something back, open up that loop, build relationship. That's how you build authentic relationship.
I'm learning. And I said this when it was just being revealed to me, and just in the beauty of it, which it still is. All of it's beautiful. But I said this. I said, if you'll reveal your names to me and reveal yourself to me, I'll tell everybody. Like I'll put the work out there. I'll make the courses. I'll make it to where they know that this deep calling within them that feels drawn to the mother, that feels drawn to the feminine, to the earth, that it's not demonic. And it's silly. It's really stupid for us to even think that you can have a father and a son without a mother. That is stupid, but that's how we are. Stupid. Like we think that father and son and the spirit. Where's the mother? You don't have a child without the earth.
We're recovering from generations of being in a cult and learning the old ways. But I just got chills because I have to tell you, I don't know if I told you already, you know, you and your family, you guys got COVID, and you put something on social media about, you know, I can't breathe. And I was so worried about you. And I sat outside and I was talking to her, and she said, don't worry, he's going to be spared because he's going to start talking about me. He's going to start talking. He's going to go through a change after this. And then, start speaking the good words, you know, and it's so crazy to hear this from you, that you're getting the names of the goddess and that you're telling her, I will say your name and I will speak on your behalf. Whoa, dude, this is like crazy.
I'm telling all the church folks.
Yeah, guys.
They're going to have to kill me. It's just like, this is what we're carrying right now. Like her name. I'm not even talking about, he's giving it to me in their language, the Bible.
Yeah.
All of these things where Paul all you got to do is just translate it. And look it up though. You can't just because the translations aren't going to tell you from like the biblical translation. Some of them will. I mean, Venus is in there. These people you meet, they have these strange names and they're like a disciple and they come to help Paul and the disciples and stuff. And their name means one who is devoted unto Venus. Like, hold on. Well, maybe we should look into Venus a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe exactly. And that's just one. I mean, I've got probably hundreds of the names.
Oh my gosh. Well, let me tell you two of the, okay. So the work that I do, it's always going to have a lot of humor in it. Because that's just part of the medicine that I bring to my audience. So when she first made a really big announcement of herself inside of me, she called herself Jesus. And then Jesus introduced her. He's like, let me introduce you to my sister. And her name was Jesus. And then another word that she told me that I could call her by is Ella. And so you spell Ella, E-L, like L, you know, like L, you know, like even in Hebrew, right? And then La, L-A. So, and those are two, it's the masculine and feminine in the Spanish language as the and the. And, you know, the is like Theos, right? God and God. So, yeah, so Ella or Ella. But the and masculine, feminine merged. Anyways, I thought I'd share.
That's interesting because in the Hebrew, it's the like one of the names that I call God, not a God, but the all God, right? Because all the gods are in the Bible. But the name that I get, because they show up by many names, right? but they're all part of this one, which everything is. And it's ahaya. Ahaya. And it means exactly what you just said, just in the Hebrew. It's the whole thing is ahaya, ashar, ahaya. And it means I am that I am, and I will be whatever I will be. I'm it. I'm the first, the last. I'm this, I'm that. I'm good. I'm bad. I'm up. I'm down. I'm death. I'm birth. I'm the gleam in the puppy dog's eyes. I'm the candy. I'm all of it. And I will be it all. So as long as you can like see, you can communicate with the all through its creation.
Oh my God.
And through its offspring and through its children. And so that's what we're doing. And when this little bird stuff and ants and insects and all of that kind of stuff, or people, we can see it in people. We do it in people. But when you start doing it for animals, you just start honoring them. When you honor a child, like you can't honor me and disrespect my child. We're enemies. You're my enemy. Like if you're disrespecting my children or my mom or something, no. Like, so that's how we work. If there's a ladder, you work your way up by honoring the family. And so all of these are God's children.
Honoring the littlest and the most vulnerable. And like, for me, it's like they're to be lifted. Like you're to learn, one of the things was we are to learn from the children. It's not the other way around. We don't need to teach children. They need to remind us how to be alive, how they look into nature, how the butterflies talking to them and how the clouds are alive and like learn from the children.
Yeah, you have to. The biggest thing I take away from that now, obviously, that hits you in different ways. You know, becoming as a child to receive the kingdom. The kingdom is invisible, and the Bible says that. But to become like a child now these days is not to know anything.
Yes,
it's to relearn, because like we've been given all these programs, and we can even just go to the easy ones like name things, and you're like, oh, that's demonic. Oh, they're going to hell. No. A child don't know that. Yeah, child don't know them folks are going to hell or something's demonic. No, somebody told you that.
A child's curious.
In the garden, when the innocence left, it was like, hey, who told you were naked? Who told you that? Oh, that the serpent. Who told you? Oh, you wasn't supposed to know. Like, and he told you it was bad? You were born this way. What do you mean it's bad? So becoming as a child to return to like, I don't know. So we're looking at birds. I'm like, is that a bird? Or is it an angel? I don't know. You know. I'm talking to the bird. You know what you are.
Yeah.
It's like, I said this the other day when we was at our retreat. It's like they're in on a big joke. They're in on this big joke that they know we're starting to get. Some of us are getting in, they can tell. But they've been in on it, and they're looking like, oh, the humans they're waking up,
They're coming back, yeah.
Awakening's happening. So
I have to tell you this.
The awe and wonder, because
it's awe, it's wonder, it's curiosity. Yeah, it's curiosity, it's awe, it's wonder, like keeping an open heart. I think that's what I was kind of saying as far as the humbling, the humbling of it, of just being so in awe with everything and everyone, that child's heart. We have to learn from the babies because they still got it. They still got it. I was going to tell you about after this big integration. At the end of the week, I went to this new age bookstore and I look, and there's all these pictures of the bright white ascended masters, right? That are like, and I had never seen them this way, but I was repulsed by the image, right? Because it was just like, it was just so blue eyes and it just felt like a lie. And then I walk down, and at the end of this bookshelf, there's a bunch of like journals, and they all have the animals on them. It's like the hummingbird and the elephant and all of these. And they were the ones with the real glow. So I walked up and they said, yeah, we did the whole humanoid thing when humans got really self-involved, and they would only talk to things that looked like them.
Yeah.
They were afraid of everything else. So we came in human form, but really, it's the animals also talking to you, and they're the angels, and they're the but then obviously it's not just them, right? It's what animates all things that comes through.
It's funny because I got that like as an epiphany out of a dream. They woke me up with that, and it was something like enough to write down, but it doesn't seem that deep. Like, but I guess I needed to hear it and to where I was going. But it was like, people miss angelic encounters because they're looking for people. You're looking to see a humanoid. Like, I think Hollywood messed it up. And I'm not to say that it doesn't happen like that, because people claim it does. I've never, I would like it to. In my mind, they are an old man with a beard, but you can see through him. Is going to come. Hello, TruthSeekah. I am Elijah. No, it doesn't. It's a mist. It's a fog. It's a glimmer of light that's shining off of a spoon on the counter. Like, come on. Like, it's, you can't, the child doesn't know how it's supposed to, right? You got to be the child to not know it in order to receive it. Because when you know it, you lock yourself out. It's like, oh, that was, they only come as people. So now you're waking up looking for people walking around your room. And trust me, I don't want to set the standard like it doesn't, because people claim it does. I've never had it happen like that. And it was enough to wake me up out of the dream and say, go write this down, like, because you're going to need it, kind of thing, which I already knew that. But like, it was like, we're going to double down on how we're showing up to you and how to teach people how to see. Yeah. And they look more like the animals. It just is what it is.
It is what it is. They're freaking animals.
Animals and amoebas and stuff.
Just all kinds of awesomeness. Yeah. I mean, and it's great that you're saying that, because in my communities, a lot of people are just waiting for that big angel encounter. And like, I just can't seem to connect. And I'm like, trust me when I say you are connecting. Okay. You just have to open your eyes in a different way and see that it is that glimmer of light on the spoon. And like children know, because they're like, they'll gaze and they can feel it and sense the numinous, the different quality when it enters the room. There's a different quality of something. The light gets a little brighter, the leaves turn just slightly brighter, and then it's like, ooh, that child's mind, what's the message here? And I feel like the Bible, right? Because you study the Bible, because the medicine that you're here to bring is the truth inside of the Bible, the old language. Ancient ways. Yeah.
That's what you know.
It's so fascinating. It's so fascinating how it comes through you. Through me, it comes through watching children's shows like the Bible, the first Bible from the first elder, which I call the land itself, right? It's the divinity of the land instructed all the people. We came up with our ancient texts, but I'm seeing it in like the leaves, it's written there too. It's written in children's books. The truth is in the children's books. It's open any book and you'll find the scripture, right? When you do the prayers and when you go in with that open heart or that child's heart, almost like what we were talking about earlier, it's like the blessing is everywhere. What has been lost is for all of us to recover right here, right now. And it's so beautiful.
Yeah, I think I can do a decent job at explaining it through many different ways. But even when it comes to that, I love the fact that I can use the Bible, because that's the thing that you're locked out of because you think it's not in there. Oh yeah, the Bible. Yeah, because even like you said, there's a lot of people in the community, and I have them too. They don't like to hear the word Jesus. They don't like to hear God, like, because that name, there's
so much
trauma with it, but to be able to maybe restore that or find where the trauma came from, because that's where healing flows. And that's what the angels are in the business of doing. Because we've been told that, the Bible is against witches. The Bible is against gay people. The Bible is, no, it's not. That's people who have used that as a weapon to hurt you. And now you're so repulsed by this thing that we all know. Now
they rewrote it and they rewrote it and they keep rewriting it.
Yeah. But it's so crazy because like we get in like how much it's when you start interpreting it. Like it needs to be a book, like with what it really says. Cause it's like, oh my God, it's that kind of stuff. It's like, oh my God.
I mean,
And some of this, I say most of the words in English it's a secret message. It's a code. But the Hebrew or Greek will tell you, call unto this God on this day, on this night. Like, I was like, what the hell am I reading? How did they translate this way? This is crazy. This word doesn't even mean that. This word means to go sit in the sun and sweat. And why does it say go sit in the tent? You showed us a picture of what a tent was and what this word means, but this word means sit in the sunlight. It says sit in the tent. That means to go hide from the sun. There is tents in there too. You know what the tents were? A teepee. You go into the tent and you fill it up with smoke and you commune and you come out, get this, a different person. You play many roles, and that's where they would go.
Is that what it says in the Bible?
It uses that word in passing, but everyone's locked out of it because it says Paul was a tent maker. So that's New Testament. You're like, oh yeah, he made tents. It says he had a craft. His craft was to make tents. And so it's easy. Oh yeah, that's just what he did for a living. But when you look up the word, it's called a skein or skene. And you look up what a skein is. It's in the Greek, because you got to keep tracing it back. What does it mean biblically? Okay, so here's one narrative that we're reading. It's a story, but then we get into the original words. Okay, what does those words mean? Okay, well, this didn't mean a tent. This was a tent or a booth that the Greeks would use, and they would go into it in between the plays. Like if they're playing multiple roles in a play, in between scenes, they run in, jump it, put on a different costume, and come out, and now they've went in as Jesus, and now they're coming out as Peter or something. So they're going in and they're having this transformation. So that's what it literally is in the Greek context, but in the ancient context. And there's many books that talk about this same word, that it was one like a teepee where they go into commune with spirits and imbibe spirits within their body. You trace it back to the Hebrew, because we got to keep tracing it back. Why was there an importance on this? And no, they don't tell you. Like they have days where the Hebrews go and sit in booths, and they build booths and they just sit there and pray. They don't tell you, like, because they don't know. They're just mimicking these processes. Maybe some of them, the higher ups know. We got to trust that they do. The natives knew what they were doing in a sweat lodge, what they were doing, you know, in the teepee with the skin. But it literally is in there. But we read it past it. It said he was a master of the craft, and he was just a tent maker. But you don't know you just think it's a regular camping tent. You just keep moving. And then you start reading deeper stuff. It's like.
But he's opening up. He creates portals and spaces for people to commune and to go into communion, to be mounted, if you will.
For real. Yeah. Because that's what he was doing. And they would appear as companions or brothers later. Random. And they were named after gods. Literally, like one of his right hand companions is Apollo.
Right.
You trace Apollo's life, like the things that, like the Greek god Apollo, what he did. Paul's the OG on prophecy for the Christians. You want to learn about how to move into prophetic and prophecy? Apollo is the god of prophecy and the god of music. And if you know that, then you listen. I don't translated these words in the literal. Like if we was to rewrite the book, it would be all the other. You don't have to rewrite it, because it is those other texts. It is the ancient tablets. It is the Greek, Homer, the epics, all of that stuff. Everything that Apollo, all his foes that he fought, Paul fights them and overcomes and wins the same way.
Wow.
Like it's like, hold on, is this a coincidence? Because he partnered with Apollo, some random guy. No, that was a god, man, that he imbibed and partnered with him and became a brother and was sent out. So
Wow.
all of this is in there. I don't know. Good luck Googling it.
No, I
you know.
know. That is so great that you're able to do that because my fascination, obviously King James and making his 30,000, edits and making up words even because they didn't have equivalents in Hebrew and Greek and all of that. I mean, I just feel like if I did identify as a Christian, because my fascination is the original language. And so I love that you're actually taking the time to do that work because you're such a scholar in that way.
Most people do it and debunk it. And it's like, oh, that's demonic. I'm like, hey, this is an initiation.
Mm-hmm.
Like this stuff you were doing is important. They have us honoring the old gods, but we're not allowed to say their names because they're saying their names behind closed doors. You show up and worship the sun on Sunday, moon on Monday, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's all there and it's all in the Bible. You mentioning the cardinal signs or something like that when we jumped in, like the cardinal sign, that's the zodiac that are in the Bible. And they've been pictured in all the King James Bibles, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, as the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac. There's a man, there's a bull, there's an eagle, and there is a ram, I believe it is. No, a lion, I think, whatever the 4th one is. But it's the 4th fixed signs and the 4 evangelists that, listen, the Catholics read each gospel in the season.
They know, but they probably forgot. They don't even know what they're doing, huh? Anymore.
Somebody got to know. They got to know.
Someone's got to know. Someone has to remember.
Maybe not. Maybe they're just playing dress up. And like Joe Rogan says, these guys are just playing dress up.
Well, I feel like some of them are, unless there's the true mystics in there that actually are reading the Bible the same way you are. And I love the cardinal directions because, when I teach indigenous practices, I really look at the universals because the universals that you can find in every continent are so important for us as far as understanding the teachings of the first elder, the teachings of the divinity of the land, and going back to the ancient ways and how our people learned to thrive. But I always include Christianity in that because no doy, they have a crucifix. I mean, that the 4 directions are right there in the symbol of Jesus. And if you, like I said, if you really look at Christianity, it is an earth. It comes from the earth and the cosmos, and it's so sad how we were taught that the earth is evil, that so many Christians believe that the earth is evil, and it's just so sad what was done.
Yeah, I'm gonna change that.
Yes, you are changing it.
Yeah, I'm changing it for me, and I'm just gonna be open about my experience, and I've got notes. I kept receipts. I can talk about this all day, but I got receipts. I got scriptures. I've got all of this. I made sure this is what this is what they were showing me, all this. I mean, so much, but I'm talking, for me, it was 12-hour days of studying.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm just getting lost. So it's like, hey, you want to do a podcast? No, I don't want a podcast. I got to though. I got to. I'm trying to back out because I'm just chasing a word, man. Yeah. I'm chasing a word. And I'm like, I can't. I've almost got it. I've almost found how this connects to the ancient way.
Wait, you're literally waiting for a word?
No. It starts with a word.
Uh-huh. Oh, so
yeah. You were saying about, if you read, the process was to start out would be to read something that I liked in the King James or whatever, and in a word that sticks out to you.
Yes.
That most of the time it's out of place.
Mm-hmm.
The Christians do this too. This is natural, but they don't go, most of them don't go too far. They wouldn't go, they wouldn't bring in they would tell them, they would listen to what the translation says from the Christian.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go to just Google Google what it means, it's like, oh, that's a god. Oh, that's that's a nymph. Literally, there was a city they traveled through called Nymphos or whatever, or Nymphos. And then you read it's all about the earth, and it's like, hold on, there's some deep mysteries going on in the names of the city So
Yeah.
it's been so now I can't read the name of a city in the Bible without, and just keep going. And you'll find that it sets this, it's the set and the setting where they were and where they traveled to. I mean, you've got.
That is so fascinating. I mean, seriously, I'm leaning into the Bible now. I mean, every once in a while. So I do a lot of, I have a member site called the Inner Sanctum, and every morning I create a new audio every freaking week, and I send it out on Sunday. And I've learned not to even pretend that I know what the heck we're talking about until that morning, and then I start doing some channeling for it. And every once in a while, I get the great honor of being guided to the Bible, and I get to quote scripture and laugh at myself, first of all, that I'm quoting scripture, because I think it's always so funny. I think the angels know how funny it is for me too, so they like sending me to the Bible when I go, and Jesus said, it's really really funny. But what's so amazing is, like, a lot of times when I'm reading these scriptures, like you, something jumps out. For me, I get a physical pulse when I'm reading the lie. And then I go on the research about, when was this added? And it's always like, the 15th century, 16th century, this king did this or this did that. And so, yeah, if you got your spidey senses tuned in, or you're paying attention to, like, so I get taken on history rabbit holes,
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It is insane, but they're teaching you what it means. Like, it was like a rare thing like that. Oh, I found this word. Now it's every word. Now it's like every word. Like, I'm like, it's just so much.
You have such a cool job. You have a cool,
it's crazy. It's fun. It's mind blowing, but I honor it. I'm not doing it to debunk anybody. I'm doing it for myself, for my relationship, for my journey, so I can make sense and know what to do, with the modality that's been given. And
with your the specific medicine that you're bringing, which is like recovering the Bible, recovering it. And it's so amazing how clinical yours is, like your medicine and why you're here. I don't have a brain for that kind of stuff as a woman in my 50s. So I'm not going to be quoting anything off the top of my head like you can. My job is to,
it just, when it, like, and like you said, it's a movie. It's the same thing. Like, I just know it good enough that I know
it's so cool though.
Speak that language. That
I love it. I love it. I mean, there's so many times where I wish I could just start popping out some scripture when people are coming at me with, I'm going to burn in hellfire. And the best I can do is like, well, perhaps perhaps that's true, but apparently you are currently burning in hellfire with that heart of yours, sending poison to people you don't even know. That's the best I can do. But I would love to, like, scripture bomb folks the way that you can. Apparently my job is just I tell even better jokes than I used to. I laugh a lot harder, and I love harder than ever before. So I know that that's some of the medicine that I'm bringing.
That's it.
And history.
Access to the mystery.
They like me to share enraging history lessons as well.
No, we have no context. We don't remember the ancient ways. Part of this is because it's being revealed,
through us, through people like you and me and all those people listening who are having these bizarre experiences and have no context for them, and maybe they're feeling alone, and you guys aren't alone. I mean, and it's such a blessing, True Seeker, that, like, we knew each other when we were going through this thing together. On opposite sides of the United States, like I'm West Coast California, you're up in Alabama, and we're going through this experience because it was so nice to just know someone else who's about to go insane, but is really just going super happy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, that's it. That's it. Yeah. And still to this day, just it's the initiation. It's the love. It's the beauty and the grace. And it really doesn't matter what language you speak.
Yes.
Or what book you quote. Like you said, it's in the Cat in the Hat. It's in it's in the leaves. It's everywhere if you can read it, if you can see the signs. I mean, that was the beauty of why I'm teaching this, is because the biblical divination was that they were so close with the Creator that they saw the Creator speaking through its creation, including the clouds, including the sun, including the reflection of the sun in the water.
Yes.
The wind, like the rain, everything was alive and everything was connected to the source.
Ella, Ella, Ella. Yeah.
And it still is. It's not. So we are the descendants. We are the children of those. Yeah. Of those people. Whether
all of us.
Physical body or our spirits or whatever.
All of us. And you know, something I like to, and here's what I also love about you, TruthSeekah, is that you know that I can openly say, I do not identify as a Christian. I have not claimed Jesus as my Lord and Savior, yet you accept me and still I feel so much respect and honor from you. And I think that that's really rare for someone who is as joined and close with Jesus as you are.
Yeah, it's but you have.
I have what?
You have accepted love.
Yeah.
That's it.
Exactly.
His name was never Jesus. I mean, everybody knows that.
Yeah.
Yeshua or something. It's salvation. You've accepted that. That's the name. It's God with us. You've accepted that. And like,
exactly.
It was never hold you by the sword and accept my Lord. You know, it's like, cut your hair, don't speak in your native tongue. No, that wasn't how it was supposed to. It was never that.
It was never that. And
that's
like
where the Christians got tricked. They think as long as they can say that and do bad shit, that it's okay.
Yeah.
No.
It's so dangerous. I know. And that's exactly it. I mean, I know who I am because when you know, and there's nothing anybody can tell you you're not pumping real love when you have it flowing, right? Mm-hmm. And I know I do not claim Christianity or I don't claim those things because it's part of my mission here for people who also do not claim them to that it's not required because the love loves you anyways, and you're part of it. But I do, love Jesus and of course love the real Christians.
Yeah, there's, I mean, that's woven in there too. That should be obvious, but for some reason it's like, it's hidden.
Which part?
Really talking about and what Jesus really was, and how do you prove you love Jesus? You prove it by saying it, right? No. You prove it by becoming love and loving the people he loved and saying what he said and letting him love through you. And it's not him, it's a spirit. Like it's the spirit of Christ, of everything that he represented. And if you're not that, then you're anti that. And I think it's more. And it wasn't like, even Billy Graham was talking about that at the end of his run, at the end of his life. He's like, yeah, there's people who are part of this bigger inclusive body of Christ that have never even heard the name Jesus. And they're not Christians, but they're going to be in heaven and they're part of this body, So even for him to admit that on camera, like, he knew at the end of his run, like, man, you meet enough people and it's like, come on, like, you're not supposed to, he told you not to judge people by what they say. He's judging by what they do. Watch that tree long enough. That tree is going to produce fruit eventually.
Right.
And you'll be able to tell what kind of tree it was. It can't lie to you and tell you it's an apple tree and give you oranges. Right. Watch the tree.
It's like those
people, man.
Those who you've been taught were unclean. Pay closer attention, right? Pay closer attention. Yeah. Oh, I know. God, it's something. So anyway, I have always loved and respected you for that. You're such a great role model for where I believe that the movement of Christianity can go and actually grow instead of losing numbers, right? It can grow.
Cool stuff in there that you don't have to give up. You know what I'm saying? And I want people to know that, just like there's cool stuff in all the indigenous ways that we have given up that we need to go back to. It's vice versa. You know, all of it has to meet in the middle somewhere in this narrow path.
Yeah, then yeah, exactly. Because it's all these false paradoxes. They do not oppose each other the more that you study like the indigenous practices, or, you know, even from what you're saying about the Bible and the old ways, they do not go contradict each other.
Who told us that it did? That's the thing. Who told you that?
Exactly.
Who told you that magic is demonic? Probably somebody using magic on you. That's funny, right? The people that told you magic is demonic are using magic on you to tell you that magic. You don't know what magic is. You don't know how powerful words and music are. You don't know that there's songs and vibrations and tones that the angels operate on. You don't know. But you think you know. You have no idea. It was taken from you. It's not your fault.
Casting spells, no one's fault. But, you know, folks who grew up like this for generations have no idea. And they're so tortured and afraid of.
I don't know. I mean, this is learning every day, man. It's so crazy how profound and deep it and how normal it is of how magical we are. And we don't know. You think you don't believe in magic because you don't think you're magical.
So what do you think magic is then? Let's talk about
everything.
Magic in the Bible.
Magic in everything.
Everything.
You can, it is influence. It is narrative. It is being able to move a crowd, to take over a people. How and with what? That's the demonic. How? It's everything demonic. How and with what? How'd you do it? Did you poison them? Did you love them? Like what did you do? And they were doing subtle, like you said, whenever, you know, and we didn't talk about this on camera, but like the Pope's like, oh, I know what to do. I know what to do. We got magic. We've done this many times over. We know what to do. Where's the strongest ones? Let's make an example out of them. Let's create a boogeyman. They're still doing it.
They're still creating boogeymen. They're still creating boogeymen. The brown people at the border, new boogeyman.
Yeah.
You know,
people we forget so quick. Forget they had us thinking that brown skinned people were our enemies. That they literally would get kicked off a plane, like all kinds of things. Like they didn't do anything to anybody. But somebody who told you that? Who told you that those people were your enemy? And somebody told you. God didn't tell you that. The Bible didn't tell you that. Somebody got on TV and was able to manipulate the airwaves and speak to millions of people at once. That's magic.
It's magic.
Send out an idea and use, and we call it technology. That we can. There's information that is moving up. That's magic.
Yeah.
So I asked the Egyptians. They were doing it. They all tap into it. But what do you do? We're doing it right now. We're doing it for good. How are you using your magic? Call it technology. What did I tell you? The pastor hit me up. He said, you said spiritual technology, didn't you? Yeah, spiritual technology. What kind? Which one? It's technology. This magic is, my music is magic. If you know the power of it, then you can be what is it? You can be intentional with your magic.
Yes.
If you know your words carry weight, you'll be intentional. Come on, the Hebrew word, abracadabra, that's a magical term. Remember watching television and say the magicians, abracadabra, pulled whatever he wanted out of his hat when he said that. The word means I create as I speak. That's the Hebrew word. It's a magical term and we're literally, it's not if you believe it's magic or not. Talk bull crap over your life and watch what happens. See if any good comes to you. You're going to get more bull crap. Speak blessings, speak life.
Even if it hurts.
Yeah. And it's going to keep coming to you and it's going to keep coming to everybody around you. That's magic.
Yes.
So how do you use it? What are you doing? Everything's magical. That's the trick.
I agree. And I believe that it was the the elite, the kings, and the wealthy churches that started casting their spells against the people to disempower them and to brainwash them into committing great harm across the globe, to lie about people, calling them the enemies of Christ, so that the church could get their resources, so that the church and what's sad for me is that I still see people in hypnosis fighting the fight still to make the oligarchs richer, to hate on other people, to these false enemies that are being created. I mean, I don't want to get too political here, but it is so sad to see the hypnosis still going on and like our siblings out there still being indoctrinated into the hatred.
Yeah, we're learning every day how deep the indoctrination goes.
Yes.
It's for the Christian, they think it's something that's coming. And that's the indoctrination. It's something that's already here. They think the Antichrist is coming. You were born going to his churches. You were baptized in their system.
Wow.
Like what you thought you thought that the Bible is so funny. The Bible says that they think that the devil's coming as a red-horned demonic scary being, but it says even Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Who is the one playing dress up, pretending? Who's pretending? Why? You find out who these people really are, and then you know. So people are waking up. It doesn't take a rocket scientist, but what do they do when they wake up, right? Because
you still have choice.
Well, they got a bad. It's part of the process. You take It ain't. I would say it ain't Christianity. It was like the modality. They stole that modality. They stole Jesus. They stole the land. They tainted it and poisoned it. That's what they do. And so, if you look at it long enough, I think it's something that will, for me anyway. You know, what I bring to the table is like, take it back. Like take it back. Take like Christianity, like not Christianity, but just Jesus, man, and what that represents is beautiful. All this stuff on top of it, and they're trying to that's not even. They're adding stuff to it and their interpretations. Who's reading it? Who's reading these scriptures to you? Because it depends on who's it being filtered through, whether you're, it means life or death in many cases, at least in the ancient times, not so ancient times. I mean, even today, socially, ghosting people, saying it can get a whole congregations to turn against people and just it's demonic, it's power, it's witchcraft. It's because witchcraft is manipulation. That's magic. How good are you at manipulating people? Guess what? I want to manipulate people too, with love and with peace. I want to trick them into thinking that they're loved with an everlasting love. I want to win the narrative and make them think that God isn't mad at them, but he's madly in love with them. Because he created them just the way they are.
Me too.
Interested in all the cool stuff that they're trying to take away from me. I'm going to use my platform, my resources to go to war with dark magicians. And I'm going to use the light. And we are. We're winning, man. This shit's falling apart. It just is what it is. The light's getting brighter and exposing all of this crazy. It's not, they can't even pretend. We know you're playing dress up now.
Yeah. We know, guys. A lot of us.
The birds are more gracious than you guys. Come on.
I know. Have you seen the birds lately? Talk to the birds, guys.
That's what I don't even want to tell people about this stuff. I just want to go talk to the birds and tell them.
I know. Well, that's why I take people to Casa Condor. I'm like, okay, enough with the Okay, let's go outside real fast. Let's talk to the birds and see, because it's so amazing, because people with like zero experience, even because luckily, like, I get to work with atheists as well, right? So people who people claim they're atheists, quote unquote, but really it's more like agnostic. They always believe in something, though, for sure. They believe in love. They believe in something. And so many are more Christ-like than most, Christians that we know. But, you get people outside in the right setting and the right container, and you just give them a little invitation to keep their eyes open. And it is just right here for all of us. And it's because it's the most natural thing, the original medicine, the original technology that was gifted to us. And I'm so happy to be talking to you about this stuff, TruthSeeker.
I light up. I can't quit talking about this stuff.
Oh, I know, me neither. I know. What are we going on? It's been like 6 hours. We could keep going and going and going.
It's all in there, though. That's the thing. Like Jesus was saying, look at the birds. And literally.
Did he say that?
Yeah. We was in nature the other day for my retreat. And I was just repeating Jesus. Like, look at the birds. How many bills are they freaking out about right now? Mm-hmm. Are the birds worried about the vid? Are they worried? Are the birds freaking out? Watch them. See how they are carefree and they know that they're going to be fed every day. They're going to be well taken care of. The birds, watch them. Learn. They're going to talk to you. Watch what time they eat. Watch how much they eat. Mm-hmm. He didn't say all that, but he says, watch them, learn from them. They're not stressing. Mm-hmm. How much more does your Heavenly Father love you than these little birds that are taken care of? Mm-hmm. It's like, no, you're freaking out. You don't know what's going on. When you get money, you can never have enough. You want to do, so it's like, hey, watch the birds, learn from them. Then he's like, look at the plant kingdom. Mm-hmm. Look at the flowers. See how beautiful these lilies are. And they're so, all of the splendor. And, even in King Solomon, with all of his riches and all of his money, he wasn't as adorned as just one of these little flowers. Mm-hmm. Learn from them. They have something to teach you.
Oh my gosh. I didn't know that Jesus said that.
Sure. And when you bask in that, like, what was he talking about? That's up to interpretation. That's up for you to learn what happens to your body when you burn sage. Mm-hmm. That's what happens when you burn frankincense. What happens with essential oils.
So what does happen?
Oh, you can sleep. Mm. You can relax. Lavender. Right? Learn from the flowers. They're going to help you. They're here. Right. They're allies. The scripture, even in Revelation, it says
people believe these things are evil. Doreen Virtue said, "Don't burn sage," and I'm just like, stop it. Yeah. Just stop it. Yeah. Yep. Oh, I love it. It's so funny and it's so good to know, because apparently the teachings that happen up at my property, Casa Condor, are Jesus's teachings, because that's literally what we do. Go talk to the flowers. And then people like get some lessons, and then we come together in a circle, and then we learn from each other about, what was said. And it's so amazing.
That's how we did it, mine.
No way, we teach the same.
That's all we did. And we came back together and we were just foraging and just going and connecting with the plants. And
isn't it mind-blowing, the wisdom that comes from just direct learning and having people share? I think is so important, because so many people are shy and they think they don't have anything to offer, but so that they get that feeling of sharing the medicine that you receive, because we need it. But how blessed each of us is. I feel like more now than ever, I learned so much from the people that come to me. They think they're coming for me. Yeah. But no, they're coming so I can learn from them.
Oh, it's crazy. It's really how the channeling works.
Yeah.
We're able to open up maybe even a Q&A or something, and they ask a question. You get the answer. Like once you tap in the flow, it comes through you, and you don't even have to fact check it. Like that's how, if you're tapped in, like you are, this. You can speak it, and maybe to you, there's not even confidence. It comes to you as a question, but your question is usually yes. But it's like the humility and how delicate it is to you that you're like, I think it's this, but there's no thinking about it. Like it comes to you, and
it's just there. It's just there.
Jesus said that would happen.
Oh, he did?
He said that there's coming a time where you'll you'll ask a question and immediately know the answer.
Yeah.
And I'm there.
Well,
but I don't
sure.
state it as a matter of fact usually. If I'm like, I don't know, but as soon as I say it, I'm like, it's a yes.
I know. It's so
I'm looking
interesting
for myself. So as they're asking, they're like talking to the ancients through you. They did that to Jesus with King David and Solomon and all of his ancestors before him. He was a little kid. He was tapped into this as a little kid. He was in the temple and they're all like, he's blowing their minds. Because he'd been to Egypt, he's studying and he's initiated, and they're traveling from all over to hear him speak, even when he was a kid. That's what they did to Solomon. Solomon had knowledge of the ancient worlds, the beings that lived on there, all of the trees and the flowers and what they did and their purposes. And people traveled from all over just to hear him speak.
Just to ask.
And their hearts were burning inside of them because it was like, man, we forgot this. How do we, it's the same thing that's happening today.
Oh, I agree. Actually, Spirit is wanting me to say this for people listening, is this ability specifically, the one TruthSeekah is talking about knowing an answer to a question without having ever thought it or said it, but you could say it with confidence too. It's like, okay, well, here it is. So I find when I do that, I say it with authority. And then I have to say, okay, but I've never said that out loud. And that just came through me. And like, people are always like, what? But I'm like, I know, I just wanted you to know, like, just chew on it. Don't take it as truth, just chew on it. Cause I'm not sure, so I have to go back and go do the humility thing afterwards and go, I know I just said that like, as if I know what I'm saying, but the truth lands in people can feel the truth when it happens. But I always love to give people the opportunity to just throw all that shit away if it doesn't resonate with you. But the message they had for people listening was to deepen these abilities. It's important to step outside of yourself and to share with people the feelings that you have or the thoughts that you have, even if you feel that they're out of left field, or you feel like, oh, I'm just making this up, because we amplify each other. But some of us are hoarders of our information because we're super shy, introverted. So like, in a group context, when I bring people in groups together, I have to give them a speech about, if you have something, please say it, even if it's the opposite of something you would ever do, because we're all learning in a community. We're all recovering. We're like the first people on the earth again. This is a new world we're in, and all of us has a place. There's no hierarchy here. And so like own your whatever it is and share in community. So if you're in TruthSeekah's community, make sure you're chiming in. Don't just hang back and let all the chatty Cathys own the joint, because the silent people are often the ones that we really need to come forward. More so in all things, in politics and all we need the silent people to come and share. So your medicine grows the more that you share, which is what TruthSeekah is saying about like the more you kind of honor Jesus and say, do the stuff. You're crazy enough to talk about this stuff out loud publicly, like we are. We get supported. We get gifted with so many incredible blessings in that way.
So good. Yeah, it's we're doing it, we're living it, we're just sharing out of the abundance, you know what I'm saying? The abundance of your heart, the mouth speaks. And so that's why we can't shut up.
We cannot shut up, apparently. God, yeah. Okay, so we should have like, were you too young for Jerry Lewis telethons? Do you know what a Jerry Lewis telethon is? Yeah.
And then all the others that came after and stuff. Yeah.
Okay. So like that guy would like never sleep. He wouldn't sleep until they raised a certain amount of money, and he'd just get up there looking all just haggard, and people would just give him your money so he can finally sleep. But we should have a Jerry Lewis mystic telethon. We'll just be all blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, we should do that.
Because we don't sleep anyways. We can
I did a birthday stream years ago. I don't think I would do it now. But where I was like, I had it set up where people could donate and I'll take a shot on my birthday. I raised a lot of money, but
Did you?
I was
Oh
drunk.
God. Oh my gosh. We should, oh my God. We need to do, we'll put our like, okay, we don't have to sleep. I'll just have candy and then, you know, we'll tap out. But yeah, because we could literally talk about this forever.
Yeah. But then if there was alcohol or wine, a glass of wine, then it's like, oh, there's no reservations.
Oh no, then the real truth comes out, right?
Yeah, don't get me started, you know. Mm-hmm.
Well, I love that you have a community where you're sharing your insights, and I just feel like there's so many more people that need to hear about these things that you're tinkering with behind the scenes, like all the translations of the real words, like tent, and like I need to hear about this stuff.
Well, help me. We talked about, helping me with some course material kind of stuff. So
I will dedicate a significant amount of time helping you map this out.
But outline it, because you're just, almost everything's a god and a goddess. So there's that. So it's not like it's rare and you're reaching. There's too much. So it's like dive in. I love it's gonna shift some stuff, and it's gonna help people who are locked out to reconnect with nature. This is why I've been telling Christians, and this is what we've been doing. Mm-hmm. Hey, do the same thing you do in church. Mm-hmm. Yeah, outside. Sing your songs, play your drum.
Outside.
Read your Bible.
Dance.
Outside. Yeah.
Outside.
Dance outside. Yeah. Just do that and
see what happens.
Watch what happens. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We need to get to work, brother, for sure. Okay. Let's hop on that like nowish. All right. We'll start mapping it out and doing it, because it's so beautiful and I'm inspired. And I told you I don't follow any other spiritual.
I've got too many ideas. But
yeah, I know.
We're going to come out. So thank you for.
We'll narrow it down and we'll put out a new one like every month and get it all lined up for you.
I got the artwork. The artwork's already.
Of course, you got all the fun stuff artwork done.
It's cool.
Oh my God,
Shocking,
I'm so excited.
It's intriguing. It's awesome.
Oh, I'm so excited. And I'm excited to like just see the parallels, because it seems like so many of the things that I know are just right there in the Bible too. Even like all my teachings are Jesus's teachings at Casa Condor. That's so good to know.
No, you probably find those words in there, and there's probably the cool thing with everybody's piece is that different words would stick out to you that don't stick out to me. It's like, oh, that was this God. Look it up, and there you go.
I know, that's where learning in group is like, because okay, let's do this like super duper now. Okay. So by the way, guys, so TruthSeekah and I are actually planning a live event to gather the heads to gather together so we could do more of this and do some deeper teachings together. And we need physical space to do some of these deeper teachings. So we're looking at the weekend, I think it's April 5th of 2024 in Dallas. So in the Dallas area. So keep your ears and eyes peeled. We'll probably be having I'm going to have you on like every week, if that's cool, because, I'm waiting. There's this deep well of conversation. I'm waiting to get to the bottom, but it's not happening anytime soon.
Yeah. Maybe I'll have some notes that I can share next time. I got receipts. I've been telling people to cite their sources, prove your downloads. That's been the crazy thing. Because it works vice versa, but like getting a download that's like, oh my God, that was crazy. And then just like what you just said, oh yeah, this is talking about the ancient way from whatever, Peru, from Mexico, it doesn't matter. It's all of them. And when you get it, it's like, oh my God, if it's a download, and then you're like, oh, now I see who is communicating with me. That's been the experience. That's just crazy. It's like, because I'm getting it, I'm writing, automatic writing, just wild concepts to where my heart is. And then I'm hearing someone else say it who's been dead for 100 years, 300 years, 600 years. I'm like, oh, wow. I thought I made this up. No. You were just, your hand was out, you were ready, and you're carrying their torch a little further. You were the only one. I mean, to carry it like you can carry it. Let's say that.
Mm-hmm.
Willing to go to the Bible and get this stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome.
Oh God, that is so exciting. It's so great. I love it. Thank you so much. Okay, how do people find you? How do they sign up for your whatever you got going on?
Yeah. So yeah, you can just go to truthseekah.com, truth SEEKAH.com, and my music, my podcast, my book, all of my stuff is there. All the events, stuff like that, and my membership platform, Patreon. What I do, we do weekly hangouts with our community, and we pretty much just do this with a group of people.
With a group
privately.
of people.
Yeah.
And the name of your book is The Spirit Realm.
Spirit Realm.
The Spirit Realm. Cool book. It shows you how some of these mystical things are that were called evil are laced all over, down to the apostles were doing divination. He actually cites these parts in the book. So for those of you who are kind of still feeling a little weird that you're a mystic, but also Christian, that's a great book for you to kind of to really, he lines everything up for you. So make sure to check that out. You are just a well of information, Truth Seeker. What an honor. Thanks for hanging out with me today.
Thanks for having me, my friend. Enjoyed it as always, for sure.
Yeah, juicy. Okay, well, we will see you. And keep your eyes peeled. We're going to have signing up for our event in April. And it's going to be so next level. All right. Thanks, Truth Seeker.
Thank you, my friend.
Vibrating at the highest frequency of the bunch. Every soul shall adapt to match that at once. Oh, how we channel high mammal, no dunce. Cap who it fits, do with this what he wants. Merlin style, curling like prisms. Past lifetime regressions.